In this video, I'm going to ask the question, is the P30 still relevant today? And what is the future of the P30? Well, the P2000 is getting the axe. I guess that's the nicest way to put it, but the only ones that I'm really seeing on the market are the 10-round variants for those behind enemy lines, to put it nicely. So it wasn't really selling all that well. The prices were being dropped. HK was kind of seeing if a price drop on some of these older models, like the P2000, never really the USP, but the P2000 and the P30 from the early 2000s, they were going for like $600 at a time. And right now, you can find P30s for around the $600, $700 mark. But the P2000 just was not really selling enough, and that's kind of a shame because I actually liked it. As far as compact pistols go, I really did enjoy it. However, there were some things that kind of limited it. The P2000 was an upgraded version of the USP Compact, and if you actually look at the design characteristics, the P30 is kind of like the upgraded version of the full-size USP. Now, it takes a lot of the cues from the USP Compact, the recoil mitigation techniques and stuff like that, or technology, or whatever you want to call it. But, generally speaking, this is like, I think this might be the last hammer-fired pistol that HK makes, and the last one that actually gets a serious contract that is hammer-fired. The LEM trigger for a long time was getting HK through a lot of contracts, or into a lot of contracts, because some people would overlook the fact that it was hammer fired. When they were asking for striker fired pistols, it was sort of like they were asking for a certain trigger weight, where you would have like light LEM, heavy LEM, etc., or something sort of in between, where you have like the variant 4 of the P30, which you can actually find on the used market. You can find some European variant 4s of the P30 on the market, and that's what it is. It's not light, but it's not heavy. It's right in the middle. So no longer were they able to get away with it, so really they had to answer the request of a German law enforcement agency that wanted a striker-fired pistol, so they designed the VP9, also known as the SFP9 in Germany. But the VP9 has been a huge hit, and the P30 has been a huge hit too, but it's mostly because of the John Wick films, I think, because it really wasn't getting all that many sales, and I think half of that had to do with the price, but it seemed to be kind of a futuristic and revolutionary pistol at the time. When it first came out, having a completely modular grip and everything, I still think that it still has some elegant characteristics that are revolutionary. I mean, it's still one of the only ones that has a side panels that can be exchanged, except for the SAR-9 from Turkey. But they're pretty much ripping off the VP9, and that's fine. They're ripping off the VP9 and the Glock and kind of merging them together, which is kind of cool that, they reverse engineered that. But right now, HK is seeing a transformation. They just released the CC9. They're into the micro compacts, which are very popular right now, and they released the VP9A1, which is, they have the K model, which is Glock 19 size VP9, and then they have the VP9A1F, which is the full-size variant, which is like the size of a Glock 17. So you still have the 17-round capacity, but you now have a 4.5-inch barrel, right? So where the K keeps the 4-inch barrel and just like lowers the height a little bit to limit it to a 15-round capacity, same as the Glock 19. It's offering now those extremes in the different height categories and such. So that's pretty cool that they're doing that. But this kind of begs the question, like, what's the future of the USP and the P30 going to be? Because they're axing the 2000 for not having that many sales. I'm not sure what the sales are for the USP, but I can't imagine a lot of people are buying them other than, it being kind of a not really necessarily well, I guess it could be a nostalgia piece, but a lot of people still consider the USP to be the GOAT as far as the GOAT HK, greatest of all time, right? Uh, and I'm kind of one of those. If you're going to get a 40 caliber and you want the best 40 caliber on the market, I don't think that you can get much better than a USP as far as like having all the characteristics of durability, reliability, and shootability. And modularity as well, because you can change it up like I have to where you deactivate the safety feature, like the cock and lock safety feature, and you just have a decocker only, so you don't have to worry about that being an issue. Now, if you're still in the 40 caliber, the P30L and the regular P30 are an option, but now they only come in the safety. So they're starting to chop away at these different options, and that's just a few of the things that are kind of making me wonder what the future of the company is going to be as far as the sales to the U.S. Because right now it's seeming like HK is leaning on the remaining contracts that they have, and they're leaning on the U.S. market to get a lot of these sales. And I don't know what the future is going to hold, but it's kind of interesting to see this shift. And I'll just tell you this, I didn't really look into HK. I wasn't really concentrating on gun stuff until quite recently. I kind of took a break from it. And just looking at these transitions, it totally caught me off guard that the P2000 was getting the axe. But when I started looking around, it's like, oh, there are signs and symptoms that the USP might be next. Because you're not seeing very many USPs coming out. You're not seeing... you're seeing like last ditch efforts to keep the Mark 23 around, and you've got OD green frames. You've got the same thing they did with the P2000, where they had flat dark earth frames and stuff that were released right before they started axing it. So I think the Mark 23 might be the next one that goes out. So that it's kind of interesting because I'm not really a fan of the Mark 23. I don't consider it a crew-served 45. I just don't have a use for a 45 at all anymore. It's 40 caliber or 9 millimeter really for me, but I really feel like getting a Mark 23 just because of the fear that we might not see them again. And it's almost like kind of a nostalgia piece, like people being able to get a hold of the classic SIGs because they just started launching the classic SIG 226 line from the 80s. And they reproduce them. Of course, they're modernized and everything, but it still has like the old style grips and stuff like that. So it's pretty similar to the old ones. It's kind of reproduced, but it does kind of leave that little fear for the future. Like, are we going to see the P30 take a dump here after it kind of loses its popularity from being a John Wick gun? I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to see these shifts, but there's still P2000s on the market. They're 10-round variants, and of course you can get the USB compact magazines and stuff, and you can still get parts, and you still get parts for old HKs like the VP70s and stuff they don't even make anymore. But it is interesting to see this shift. But let me know what you think about this in the comments below and where you think this is headed. And you guys have a good one.